Welcome, everyone, to the Endurance Athlete Journey podcast. I'm your host, Coach Justin, and I'm here with Coach Katie. And today we have a special guest. We have athlete James Logan. And this is a story that is just absolutely fascinating. And I got a message from James a while back, and it's like, hey, this is kind of what's going on. This is my story. Would you be interested? And I immediately was just like, we gotta have this guy on the show. And so with all of our crazy schedules, and we finally got hooked up. And so today we're going to bring James' story to the Endurance Athlete Journey podcast. So this is going to fit right on into our series that we have is called the Athlete Stories. And so I really want you guys to stay tuned. We're going to have some great information at the end on how you can contribute to what James is, what he's working for. And this is really, really important, guys. So I don't even want to waste any more time with an intro. So let's turn this thing over to James. James, thank you so much for dialing in with us today. And let's go ahead and let's just give us the Reader's Digest of kind of like what your story is.
Sure.
And then we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the endurance aspect of your story. So
well, thank you so much for that introduction, Justin and Katie. Thank you for hosting me today. I really appreciate your time and sharing my message with your followers and your platform. So thank you for that. Basically, I'm a lifelong, long-distance endurance athlete. My dad was a marathon runner, and as a kid, I watched him cross big finish lines in London, New York, Berlin, all over the world. And so, I know he wasn't winning the races, but to me, it sure looked like it. And I was always fascinated by that, and sure enough, wanted to follow in his footsteps. 1982 was my first exposure to Ironman, like most people, NBC Wide World of Sports, Julie Moss. And at that point, that's where the seeds were planted early on in my life. And, I had lived a pretty charmed 59 and a half years. Grew up in Jersey, normal family, blue collar, ended up going to high school in Europe, graduated 82, moved to Atlanta in 93, where I met my wife, Kelly. And in 96, I married Kelly, and we've been happily married for almost 30 years now, and built a business during that same time period. And, right when things were really looking pretty good, at age 59 and a half, I was hit with a stage 4 metastatic colorectal cancer diagnosis, really cancer of the rectum that had metastasized to my liver, leaving hundreds of tumors, so much that even AI couldn't count them. And it left no option for surgery. It was chemo till you're dead, or, we'll keep you comfortable as long as we can kind of thing. 6 months, maybe 2 years. That was 28 months ago. Here I am, no evidence of disease. So one thing I would tell you is nobody knows what the future holds. So don't necessarily believe what the doctors tell you. It might not be true. So April of 24 was the day everything changed for me. And throughout the entire time, I continued to train for Ironman triathlons. At the time, I wasn't sure why. I just knew I needed to just keep trying, which is the title of the book. And, I've been through, as recent as Monday, my most recent chemo session. I'll be on chemo when I hit Kona. I'll probably have 30 sessions in by then, 5 radiations and surgeries to remove 40% of my colon, 60% of my liver, all of my gallbladder, all of my rectum, resulting in the ostomy that I'll race with on October 10th. So it's been quite a journey over the last 30 months, and I've learned a great deal.
Wow.
I know that's like I feel like you just condensed like a lot into a very short.
I always tell people it's my life. I lived it. I wrote a book about it, and I've done probably 50 podcasts so far. And my goal was to do 100 before I get to Kona. Profits from the book go to the IRONMAN Foundation. And, the cancer rocked my foundation, but it gave me an opportunity. And I always tell people, cancer is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. It's also the best thing that's ever happened to me. Cancer has given me some gifts that were hard to see at first. It took me a while, but cancer gave me time. Time gives you opportunities, and what you do with the opportunity is up to you. I was presented with a difficult set of circumstances, and I found a way to live a meaningful life regardless, to take what's given to me and turn it in tragedy into triumph, and share my experience, my pain, my suffering, what I've learned, and with people who may be in a similar situation. So that's been a great joy for me, as I'm happier with what I'm doing now than I ever been in my entire life, including my lifelong dream of going to Kona, which is just still to this day blows my mind every day that I'm going to make it there.
So I guess like backing up to the beginning, let's go back.
Sure.
like backtrack a little bit. So I'm curious, before the diagnosis, like so you kind of said you've always been interested in endurance sports. So like what were you doing? Were you training for Ironman before you were diagnosed? Like what were you doing?
30 years, I would say. I was pretty serious into, everything from 5Ks to 10Ks. So I would treat each year almost like a professional season, even though I'm a middle to the back of the pack. I wouldn't even say middle. I'm being gracious. I'm back of the pack guy. I go slow, but it doesn't matter. There's still joy in it. But yeah, I just, everything from 5Ks to marathons, and it's a natural progression. I think there's two kinds of people. I've had friends that I've coached into sprint triathlons who did it once and said, I am done. Never again, no desire. The other guy I coached into it, he got finished with his first one and he immediately started thinking, I think I could do better on the swim if I did this. And if I get a little better bike, I said, you're hooked. You're going to just keep up the escalator. So I had climbed the escalator, and the only race left on my ticket was the Ironman. I hadn't done an Ironman. So at age 55, I decided to do that. And, it's in the book, but I actually have 8 DNFs at Ironman and 1 DNS. And now I get a chance to rectify that horrible record in the greatest place, Kona. But yeah, I always set my schedule for the year, and I try to do 10 races a year with a couple of big ones to crescendo the year. And over the last 8 years, for sure, it's been Ironman focused. Some of the early failures were my fault for not training correctly. Some of the later failures were just cancer and chemo and different things in the way. So I've had my trials and tribulations. I've learned something from each race, and I'm more prepared now than I think I've ever been. So we'll see what happens. I'd love to finish this race. I would love to put a cherry on the top of this cake and call it a day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was the one that you finished?
Well, I would say the one that Ironman would probably consider a finish would be the first one in Chattanooga. But that year, 2018, they canceled the swim. So I didn't do the swim. I did the 116-mile bike ride. I did the 26.2-mile run. I finished under the cutoff, but no swim. Ironman counts it as legit. Although that day for me, my bike doesn't even show up on the thing because I forgot to put my chip on. So, this is a comedy of errors that I experienced through this process. And there's something about, like, if I'd have finished that first race in 2018, I don't know if I ever come back to do another one. The fact that I didn't finish the race is what's caused me to be on this journey that's led to this place where I am now. Even with the cancer, I thought I was finished, but turns out I wasn't finished. I don't know if we're ever finished. And I ask people all the time, if you knew your last race was your last race, would you treat it different? I think you would. So I think one of the reasons I had so many DNFs is that I always thought I had a shot at another chance. And this time there's no second chance for Kona with cancer and everything that I got going on. So it definitely played into the story because it heightens the anticipation. So this is the one. I got to finish this one.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I was at Chattanooga 2017, so the year before you. That was my first full, so I know what that race is about.
Yeah.
We both picked a doozy of a race for that to be our first. That run on the back half across the river. Is no joke.
It's a hard finish. It's a hard run finish. I enjoyed the bike ride. I loved the rolling hills. I know they changed the course and that sucks. They changed it again, but it was 116 miles. I mean, I loved it. It was rolling hills. That's kind of my thing. I don't like flats or wind. But yeah, I have a love-hate affair with Chattanooga. I've done a lot of races there, and for many reasons, I didn't finish. So 18 was the swim. 19, I came back, and it was the hottest year in the history of the world. I mean, Satan took the day off. It was so hot. They swore they wouldn't run out of ice. They ran out of ice. At the aid stations, they were giving out hot Gatorade, hot water. Ambulances are flying all over the place. So, and that one I did the swim, the bike, and got halfway through the run and couldn't make the cutoff. So I was close again. I've had a lot of really close calls, but in my mind, I think I always thought, you have another chance, and that may not be the case. In some cases, you never know when your last big race is your last big race.
Man, I love that question that you asked, and it was if this is your last race, what would it be? How would you treat it
differently?
And that it just goes to show, because a lot of us, as endurance athletes, I think we're planners by nature.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we're scheduled for a race, we're always thinking like several months down the line on like, what's the next one?
Right.
And I mean, just the fact that you have to sit back and say, well, if this is my last one,
yeah,
what do I want to get out of this?
Well, cancer's really woke me up to that in many ways, not just in the racing, in my life, my relationships. Again, I'm thankful to cancer for the time and the opportunities to reevaluate my life, reevaluate my relationships with my wife, my son. I've had an opportunity to talk to my family, difficult at first, but rewarding in the end. And, I'm thankful for all of those things. But, nobody knows what tomorrow holds. So really all you get is today. So the lesson for me was to focus on the day ahead. Tomorrow will come, but today is the most important day. So if you take care of today, tomorrow will take care of itself. Yeah. That's how I approach the training program. If people say, how are you going to do an Ironman with, all this cancer and whatnot? It's like, I don't have to do an Ironman today. All I have to do today is an hour and 40 minutes on an indoor bike. That's what's on the schedule. If I do that and I keep doing that, then I'll be okay when race day comes. So you compartmentalize and shrink things down a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're just like in the moment a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's
you're appreciating
one of the great lessons that cancer taught me. And I think for a lot of us, if you don't have, unfortunately, it takes that catalyst to remind you of some of these things. But one of the messages I try to share is don't wait for the stage 4 diagnosis. Go ahead and do it anyway, So ask yourself the question, again, another question. If suddenly you were told you only have 2 years to live, would it change the way you spend the next 2 years? For most people, probably, yeah, you might have some things that you would hurry up and do. And I would encourage you to hurry up and do those things, regardless of the diagnosis. So, it's called prioritizing, if there's something that you want to do. I never thought I'd be an author. Now I'm an author. I never thought I'd be a public speaker. I'm public speaking. I never thought I would go to Kona, and I'm going to Kona. So regardless of your age, don't be complacent in your life. You can still do big things and dream and change whatever you're doing if that's what you want to do. So these are good questions to ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
This is great. Yeah. So I'm curious, you have your own business and you're training for like Ironmans and, running events. And what, was there, before the cancer diagnosis, was there like something that was happening, like symptoms you were having, or what kind of prompted you to get seen or
it's a really good question. It's a really good question. And it's another subject I really like to touch on because the colorectal cancer is the second leading killer next to lung cancer. And the main reason is that most people get diagnosed late. And by the time you get diagnosed, it's stage 4. Once it's stage 4, it's toothpaste out of the tube. You're not getting it back in. But if you do a colonoscopy, and they used to recommend over 50, now I think it's over 40, go ahead, get in there, get one. It's the only way to know what's going on because a lot of these symptoms fly under the radar. I had health checkups, I had physicals, I had blood tests. It didn't show up anywhere. And I finally started to experience extreme fatigue. I was training 7 days a week, sometimes two times a day. That was, what my coach was prescribing at the time. And I was just so tired. And I figured, well, you're 60, you're old and you're training at a high level. You're supposed to be tired. You got to just push through it. And then it got to a point where I guess one morning I did my morning workouts and I was about to go about my day, sat on the couch with a cup of coffee that I rested on my knee. And it was 9 o'clock in the morning. I closed my eyes, I opened them, it was 3 p.m. Same cup of coffee on my knee, ice cold. Didn't spill it or anything. I sat there for 6 hours in the same position. I was like, all right, that's not normal. Go see the doctor, go do the colonoscopy. And, I went in thinking, well, if there's a little something in there, they probably zapped it. Or, if there's something, we'll treat it. And it come out with the stage 4 diagnosis and not treatable. And, they used the word terminal, which to this day, I don't like the language because as I look back 28 months ago, terminal defined as the end was not the end. It was just the beginning of something new and a life that I could have never imagined. It took me 6 months to come to terms with it after depression, disillusionment, and, a little bit of anger. Like one of the questions I would ask God is, why me? Why are these things happening to me? And just recently, in my most recent hospitalization, I realized as I thought I was dying from a blood clot, they come in and give me no evidence of disease. the flip-flop back and forth of this crazy ride, I realized these things aren't happening to me, they're happening for me. And when you look at it that way, you look at it as, well, why is this happening for me? And how can I use it to be stronger, to be more courageous, wiser, and then learn and grow and share. Sharing is the big thing for me. Sharing my experience, hoping that somebody listening may benefit from what I have to say from my experience. And that's been the great joy. Meeting people like yourselves. I've met so many people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. So again, these are things I'm thankful to cancer for. But once you switch your mindset to things don't happen to you, they happen for you. It's your job to figure out why and what to do with it.
Yeah. It's like you went through the stages, like all those
the
stages of grief.
Yeah.
Like
and you have to go through it, I know a lot of people talk about it. Anthony Goggins talks about going through the pain, through the suffering. You have to experience every bit of it, but there's something on the other side if you stick with it long enough. And us long distance endurance athletes know it. A lot of people don't understand. They ask me the question, what happens when you get deep in a race and it gets really hard? And I said, well, that's what we came for. It takes that long to get to the good spot. And once you cross that finish line, it's all worthwhile. But at the same time, I like to, I've changed my mindset quite a bit over the 2.5 years. And again, glad to have the time to do it. But, initially for me, like most people, it was all about the finish line. And then once I got cancer, I realized it's about the start line. All I want to do is get to the start line. We'll see what happens after that, but I need something to look forward to train for, to hope for. So it's about the start line. And then I began to realize once again that getting there is great, but really the true benefit of this lifestyle is it's in the daily pursuit. So if you have 10 months of training, 4 weeks in a month, 40 weeks, say 10 sessions a week, that's 400 training sessions over 40 weeks. Leading up to one day. Are you telling me the 40 weeks is less important than the one day? I want the finish line and I want the start line. I want them in that order, start, finish. But the cake's already baked. The benefits are already in the bank. Most of what you're going to get out of this is already been gotten. And for me, it's not, you don't pursue happiness. Happiness is in the pursuit. And that's what I come to realize is I like the day-to-day discipline. I like the work of it. So the epiphany from start line to finish line and, just doing the best you can to get there. And then once you get there, do the best you can to finish and realize that regardless of the outcome, that the benefits are already in the bank.
Yeah, I love that. Like it's the process, it's the journey. Yeah. That's kind of what we talk about a lot. Like Justin and I always tell people like I don't really actually love racing too much.
Yeah.
I mean, I do it because it's, you kind of want to see how all of that work is kind of come together, and then you want to race to see it. But it's the day-to-day training that that day-to-day grind. A little bit of
and you don't
putting
love it
in the work.
For so many years, people would ask me. Yeah, so many people. Well, the great question to people is ask why do you torture yourself? Why do you do this? And I used to not really have a good answer. I was finish line, start line, all that. Now what I've come down to is because I love it. If you don't love something, you're not going to continue to do it. So when people come to me and say they're doing some fitness program and, if it's whatever it is, if it's Orange Theory or whatever, I've seen a lot of people have success, but then not go back to it because they don't have the joy in it. There's no love in it. But if you love something, like people love golf, they go every weekend. We this is what we love. And so I do it because I love it. That's the simple answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes sense. I'm wondering, like, so you go, you have like, so the symptoms, that's interesting. I think that's really important for people to realize is that I think people think with like colon cancer or something like that, they're going to have something very apparent. And I have had people I've worked with that have been diagnosed that have something kind of GI related that they're going in to get checked. But sometimes it's not that apparent. It may be, I just have IBS or something. And
nobody attests it to cancer. You don't get a symptom and go, oh, I'm having some gastro issues, must be cancer. I thought must be all these stupid gels I'm eating.
That's kind of what I was thinking for this other individual I was working with. And then come to find out, if she goes to see a GI, she must have had a colonoscopy and she had, I think, colon cancer. And it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, like that didn't even
Yeah.
occur to me either. And I, work with people. So I think that's important for people to understand
Yeah.
and I also think there's a genetic propensity for it too.
Mhm.
So maybe making sure if you have the genetics, to maybe even do the
Yeah. And,
colonoscopies more often.
I theorize a little bit. I don't get too deep into it, but, cancer, it gets everybody. So of all the people to get cancer, nobody in my realm of sphere of influence ever thought it would be me. I'm the healthiest guy everybody knows. You know what I mean? At 59, at 60 years old, even now, when I was diagnosed in April of 24, I was about 180 pounds, about 11% body fat. I'm about 180 pounds, 11% body fat. I've gone up and down as much as 35 pounds. I've been down to like 155 almost pounds. I came close to death a few times and just fought my way back. So, funny thing, my oncologist, Dr. Jha, was dead against long distance endurance sports for someone in my condition. And I just defied her. Over time, she's now on the team. She's talking about setting me up so I don't have to do chemo in September leading up to the race. She's all in. So when we go to the infusion room, my blood work looks better than everybody else's. And there's no other explanation other than the fact that I do these long distance things, which they don't have any research on because one, it's hard to get a stage 4 group together that wants to do this. And then they don't live long enough to get a study that works. So
Right.
I'm a one-man study in my own infusion room. And, they know mild activity gets great benefits to as much as 40% additional longevity, but there's not a lot of evidence on, but I think you can do both things at the same time. I was telling you earlier, my fitness is improving. My VO2 max had dropped to 38 on the run, 38 on the bike when I was in the hospital. And over the last 6 weeks, I've got it back up to 42, which puts me in the upper 15 percentile of my age group of healthy people. So while my health is improving, or my fitness is improving, my health is declining. I don't know how that works, but I think endurance kicks cancer's ass. I think cancer's lazy and it doesn't like swimming, biking, and running. So I always think about that. When I'm in pain, the cancer's in pain.
That's an interesting way to think of it. You're kind of like, because there's that piece of it. Like you're angry. You've got this thing this cancer in your body. You kind of want to view it that way, that I want to kick its butt. Like I want to do something to make it hurt. Like it's
compartmentalize.
Me.
So that's one way I play with it. When I'm out there doing my training and it's hard, I think I'm hurting the cancer, which makes me want to keep going. Also, I have a mantra that I say, if I can't do this, I can't go to Kona. But early on, I told my wife, I said, we're going to make this pretty simple. Cancer's going to do whatever it wants to do. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And I'm going to put it basically this way. Cancer has my body, and I'll let the medical community handle that aspect of it. I'll do as I'm told. Cancer cannot have my heart because I gave that to my wife and my son. Cancer cannot have my mind because it belongs to me. And cancer cannot have my soul because I gave that to Jesus. So heart, mind, and soul against cancer. So far, it's a winning philosophy for me.
Yeah, your mindset is like very positive.
It's built over time like a tidal wave. So like I said, I'm not the man I was in April of 24. I was a weak, broken man by September of 24. And then I had a scan that showed a bunch of tumors disappeared. After having an epiphany, I accepted the fact that I was going to die. I was really close to death. And I only asked God for forgiveness for my sins and entry into heaven. A week later, they did a scan. Almost all the tumors disappeared in my liver, which opened up the surgical options, which for me flipped the light switch. They don't know when I'm going to die. They don't know what's possible. IRONMAN motto, anything's possible. And the title of my book, Just Keep Trying, TRI-ING. But if you get up every day, and this message is universal, regardless of what you're facing, just keep trying, point yourself in the right direction. Sometimes you can't see the finish line, but you're going the right way, and just keep going, just keep trying. And you'd be surprised what you can accomplish if you just apply that simple mantra.
Interesting. So I'm just trying to think the timeline here. So you get the diagnosis, you're kind of going through telling your family, obviously, which is probably very, very hard. And you're kind of going through this whole, trying to just kind of mentally and emotionally and physically figure out what it means. Yep. And then you have this. Did you start treatment already, or did you?
Yeah, I was 6 months into treatment. I had numerous, and I'm able to handle a lot of chemo. So, there's basically, I call it 3 options: mild, medium, and scorched earth. I've been on scorched earth for 30 months. Apparently, I could eat the chemo pretty well. I talk about it in the book, Invited Pain and Uninvited Pain. I credit the Ironman lifestyle and the endurance lifestyle for building the physical presence, the mental strength, the spiritual strength when I go into cancer that I brought. I went from swim, bike, run to chemo, radiation, surgery. And the invited pain that you invite through training helped me when the uninvited pain and suffering came from chemo. And I really credit that preparedness for my longevity at this point. So, that's been a great gift as well. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was 6 months in and things were bleak. I had lost 35 pounds. I had a level 3 skin infection and, it was playing out just like the doctors had said. But then I had that epiphany and every time I did a race too. So I got diagnosed in April of 24. I had Texas on the schedule for 2 weeks later. And so I said, what the heck? I've already done the training. I already got the hotels. Let's go give it a try. I got, 80 miles into the bike and couldn't go any further. It was really disappointing. And that was the ride of shame. If you read the intro to the book, it was the first time I got picked up by a pickup truck. So here I am, diagnosed, untreated, looking at a terminal diagnosis, had this horrible race for my last race, got driven home in the truck. It was just the worst moment sitting in the back of the truck by myself, accepting defeat and not being able to finish the way I wanted to finish. Well, it was only a week that I got home and signed up for Chattanooga 24. It didn't take long. To say that's not going to be my last race. That is not it. And that was part of my...
This is 2 weeks after your diagnosis.
Yeah.
And you do that and then you're still I have this diagnosis, but I'm still going to do Chattanooga.
Yep. Well, I went home and I thought, I'm not going to sit on the couch and wait to die. I'm going to keep doing it. And again, I told my wife, I said, cancer might kill me, chemo might kill me, but swimming, biking, and running are not going to kill me. So I'm going to keep doing what I love to do for as long as I can do it. I don't know if I can make the start line. I don't know if I can train, but we're going to find out. And I didn't want my last race to be my last race. That was not the way I'm going out. So I figured I had one more chance. And Chattanooga went worse than when, Texas. So at some point my family said, why are you doing this? Why are you torturing yourself? And I kept saying, I don't know. I just feel like I have to just keep trying, which ended up being the title of the book. And that's when I had the epiphany. That's when the tumors disappeared. And sure enough, after the horrible race and the tumors disappeared, even before they scheduled the surgery, I had my liver removed on December of 24, and I ran the Atlanta Half Marathon on March 1st of 25. So my recovery rates were really fantastic, but that just buoyed my spirit to keep going. And that's when I decided to write the book. And that's when I, through writing the book and signing up for Ironman Florida 25 is how I got involved with the IRONMAN Foundation, which is how I met Audra, which is how I got invited to Hawaii. So if I didn't just keep trying, even though I couldn't see these events playing out the way they did, I would never know. So,
yeah, that's interesting. Because I think many people with that would get that diagnosis and be like, I'm not even...
Terminal doesn't mean the end.
Yeah, I know.
It's just the beginning.
I think that's why your story is so incredible, because I do think so many people would have been like, oh no, like this is the end. Like I'm not going to do this anymore. And you were just determined to keep going and keep trying.
You either accept your fate and sit on the couch and let it play out on its own, or you can decide to, I'm going to die trying, put it that way. I'm going to die in motion. I always say, if I die on the swim, I die with a grin. If I die on the bike, I die doing something I like. And if I die on the run, I was having fun.
That's a good way of putting it. I know there's always like people, you do have those individuals who like pass away during a marathon or something. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know.
Not so bad.
Maybe that wouldn't be so bad. Yeah. They'd be doing something I love. And then there's always like, think it's a tragedy. But to me, I mean, maybe if they're very young, it is. But to me, I'm like, maybe if I'm doing something I love, then it's not such a tragedy.
That's kind of the way I look at it. I got another question for you. If you were given the choice between dying suddenly or having time like I do to go through all this cancer stuff, I prefer to have the time. I would hate to leave suddenly and leave people with unanswered questions. And then the next question you ask yourself, if you knew you were going to die soon, are there people you need to talk to? Are there things you need to do? It causes you to focus on the things that are really matter. And one of the questions I had to ask myself is, what makes a life worth living? And have I done those things? And now I've changed my life in a way where I think I've filled some gaps. I'm living a life of service. And as long as I'm thriving and training and writing books and doing podcasts and living to serve other people, help other people, my family doesn't worry about me. They see me thriving and doing well. Unlike the first 6 months where I wasn't doing so well, they're not as concerned. And my son especially, I know he's always watching. And one of the things that's always on top of my mind, I spend 21 years teaching him how to live. The last lesson I'll teach him is how to die with some courage and dignity and meaning and purpose. And, you have a choice. If your time is short, how you want to spend it. That's up to you, but I want to make the most of it. And I'm really, really so happy with what I'm doing now, that I wouldn't change the diagnosis. I wouldn't want to go back to the man I was before. I'm too happy with the person I'm becoming now.
Yeah, so there's two things that I kind of want to touch on right now, and there aren't too many instances where I'm speechless, but listening to your story, I'm absolutely just at a loss for words. And I want to say that many times athletes will come to me and they're so consumed with, well, what's my performance going to be? What can I do to get this kind of performance? And, I'm afraid to sign up for this race because, this is how I want to perform. And every time I tell them, I was like, it's not the performance that matters. It's the daily steps that you take forward is what
you do the little
really
things you need to do along the way. If you want a great performance, it happens in the training, and you don't need to worry about tomorrow or the next day. What is on the schedule for today? Execute that plan to its fullest, and don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself if you take care of today. So if you want to do great on race day, then you have to execute the plan flawlessly. And the little things. One thing I learned from Michael Phelps, and he talked about, training 7 days a week, no days off. But he also talked about in the swim, when they were doing their swims, he would swim to the wall every time. And, when you're training, maybe you lay off the last 2 or 3 strokes. Maybe you lay off. You don't approach the wall the same way you would in a competition. He approached the wall. He finished every stroke to the wall. And do you know that, I don't know how many of his medals he won by hundredths of a second. That little detail is what made the difference. You win one of those races by luck. You win 7 of them by training. That's built in. He built it into the training. He didn't lay off on the last stroke in training. He treated it just like a race all the way to the wall. So if you take your daily training seriously, and little things matter a whole heck of a lot. We know that. I had one person ask me, does that aero helmet really matter? I was like, well, let's do the math. If you shave 10 seconds a mile with an aero helmet, it ends up being 20 minutes at the end of a 112-mile bike ride. So yeah, it matters. And that's just one little thing. You take 10 little things, and now you've got something big, but nothing big, nobody does anything big in one day. It's a series of little things, and we can all do little things, but pay attention to the details. Yeah, for sure.
We did an episode not too long ago. We did an episode where we talked about what to do after a disappointing race, and hearing your story on how there were how many DNFs and actually and a DNS in there, where you said it was like 10, right?
Yeah, I'm up to 9. Yeah. The last one I gave myself a break on because I had just come out of having my rectum removed. And even though I thought I could do it, I listened to the doctors, and I knew I was going to Kona. So I didn't want to waste my first finish in Florida if I could have it at Kona.
So the fact that you keep coming back time and time again when things just aren't going well, and you don't see the progress that you envisioned in your mind when you clicked on the registration button. We learn more about ourselves with those races than we do with the ones that are quote unquote successful. And I will tell you that most people are not inspired by the high performers. Most people, I believe, are inspired by the people that keep coming back time and time again to get better and to finally achieve something that they've been working towards, even in spite of it not working out like they would hope it would. Right. Those are way more inspiring stories than hearing about somebody who finishes, on the podium or top 10 or whatever. So your story on how you kept coming back time and time again, facing the adversity and not giving up is truly inspiring. So I love that.
I think all of us long distance endurance people have some of that in us. So I don't even like calling it failures. I call it a learning experience. I learned from each one. Something different happened in each one. And with each learning experience, I grow more determined. With each relapse, setback, side effect, treatment, surgery, I'd grow more determined. I'm more determined now than ever before. And what I've said is, for the longest time, I wondered why these things were happening to me. Well, they're happening for me, if you think of it this way. I'm doing the Ironman training program the best I can, but I'm being prepared in ways that no other Ironman is being prepared. Overcoming these surgeries, mentally, physically, all the things you have to go through. By the time I get to Kona, there is nothing you can do to me in 17 hours swimming, biking, and running that I haven't been through in the previous 30 months. So whatever's out there, I'm prepared for, and I'm willing to push my body to the limit and see what we can do. I mean, I have tremendous optimism for this race, and if you break it down real simple, if I'm out of the water and on the bike in 2 hours, that's a leisurely swim for me. I grew up in the water, on the ocean. I'm not afraid of water. I love being in the water. It's the easiest part of the day, just not terribly fast, and that's fine. So my greatest swim, I got to bring it up because people are listening. My greatest swim was in Chattanooga, 2019. Came back, and the current was with me that day, 47 minutes.
Wow.
It was ridiculous. I thought I was lollygagging it. I thought my watch was broken. I was like, no way. And that was the day I only got halfway through the marathon. So my spirit went from, I'm going to kill this thing, to, I can't believe I didn't finish this thing. And the next year, COVID canceled the race. The next year, I got COVID and delayed another year. The next year, I overhydrated instead of dehydrated. So it's just a comedy of errors, But with each setback, I grow more determined, and I believe, I don't know, it's almost written like a movie, like a Rocky movie or something. I need to finish this race in Kona and wrap this whole thing up in a neat little bow so I can ride off into the sunset. But I'm probably I've already talked about Chattanooga, the 70.3 World Championship next year might be my next target.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, are you...
I'll never quit.
Is that going to be it?
You'll have to drag me off by my feet. That's when I'll be done. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you're a man of faith, and yes. So there's something that I want to ask you, and this is something that I experienced in my last Ironman branded race. Through all of what you've gone through, you feel that there's something that God is trying to show you, that He's trying to teach you, and how have you taken that and moved forward with it?
I go deep into this in the book that, I was raised Catholic. I've always been a believer. I've always worn a crucifix or some sort of religious symbolry. I go to church not as often as I used to, but it kind of drifted from the Catholic Church, the regiment of it. But I thought that I would describe myself as a faithful man, but not a man full of faith. So kind of like a faith of convenience, like a book on a shelf. You take it down when you need it. It's a selfish pursuit. You're not all in the way you're supposed to be. And it woke me up. It woke me up to that fact. And once I surrendered to God and I couldn't take it, I tried to handle it all myself, and it just doesn't work that way. When I relieved the burden is when I felt the joy and the light, and then the good results started happening to me. That was divine intervention. And since that moment, I decided to write the book. I decided to go to Florida. I got into the IRONMAN World Championship. I've raised $40,000 for the foundation so far, on my way to $100,000. My book is on Amazon. It achieved #1 bestseller status in cancer, triathlon, and spiritual growth. And I'm meeting new people. I'm spreading the word all over the place. I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, so much so that I retired as a home inspector. And this is what I do full time when I'm healthy enough, which is most of the time, is podcasting and public speaking and promoting the book, which the proceeds from the book will go to my fundraising goal until we achieve that. And it's the greatest joy of my life. Again, I'm thankful to cancer for the time and the opportunity to use my experience to help other people. And the greatest joy that I get is the feedback that I'm getting now from other people who are watching the podcasts and reading the book, and 5-star reviews just as far as the eye can see, and from people that barely know me. So I knew my family would review me nicely, but when I started getting good reviews from respectable people, I knew that I put together a pretty good product. The book is short, easy to read, and full of really just the kind of stuff we're talking about right here. I don't think anyone, it looks like a book about triathlon, looks like a book about cancer, but it's really a book about faith and family and hope and love and the things that really matter, which are relationships and experiences. And it's all in there. Young and old, men and women alike seem to really enjoy it. So it's the greatest joy of my life that I've had these opportunities to, meet new people like yourselves and put myself out there. You never know who's listening and who needs to hear it.
I think it's really powerful that you the way that you're describing how the cancer, I think a lot of people would be very negative about it. Like, oh, I've got cancer. And you kind of, you go through that. I think everybody would.
Yeah.
Like, woe is me, kind of like, why did this happen to me? But you were able to, as, through your journey with, the cancer and the endurance sports, the way you frame it now is very interesting. And I've heard this before from people who've gone through something very difficult of this, they wouldn't necessarily go back and change it. Like there's something about that experience for you with the cancer that's kind of made you realize, or you kind of realize maybe what God intended for you, or whatever that is, that you kind of have this epiphany, and like it's changed your life in such a way that maybe wouldn't have happened if you hadn't had the cancer, especially.
The question most people ask, everyone knows, I believe God has a plan for me. I don't believe God makes mistakes. So this is the plan. Cancer is the plan. So what does that mean? How do I use that for me? Why would God put this in front of me? To make me stronger, wiser, more courageous, to use what I've learned to help other people, which I think is what we're all supposed to be doing, living that life of service and sharing and caring and spreading the message of faith, hope, and love. And that's the reason I wrote the book, to give faith to the faithless and hope to the hopeless. As I entered the chemo rooms and the doctors, and I saw the despair in people's faces, I saw the same look that I felt. And I just felt compelled to do these things. And the more I do, the more good feedback I get, the more doors open up that, were never even on my radar previously. So I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's the easiest thing, easiest and hardest, I would say, at the same time. But it just feels right. Like I'm not forcing anything. It's just coming right out before me. I've got television interviews set up. Ironman's going to be doing a thing on me. It's funny because growing up, I watched the Ironman every year, and my wife and I always had this bet, like who's going to cry first, because they always did these heart-wrenching stories of people's, coming back from a car accident or whatever their disability or their challenge was. And, one of us would, you can't get through one of those things without tears. And it was always so inspirational. Now I'm going to be one of those people is really quite the epiphany to me. And like I said, I'm just thankful to cancer for that. And that's one of the ways you take cancer's power away. One, I'm not afraid of dying because I'm going to heaven. So all I have left is to figure out how to live between now and then to the best of my ability. And two, I took the power away from cancer by thanking it for the good things. And so now it doesn't have that grip on me. So I have cancer. Cancer does not have me, and I won't allow it the other way.
That's amazing. You could be very inspirational with people who have cancer. I think a lot of people may be thinking to themselves, like, I have cancer. Like, I don't know if I could do, an Ironman, or anyone in general, but it's like just especially someone who is experiencing that. But I'm curious, I'm kind of thinking to myself, maybe even like a 5K, like perhaps if they
that's the message. That's exactly the point I want to get across. You don't have to have cancer. You don't have to be a long distance endurance athlete. If you want to, you could be a gardener, whatever your passion is, but you need to fill your life with a purpose and a passion. Maybe you grow a garden and then you take the vegetables to cancer patients so they can eat healthy. Something like that. There's a way to do it other than what we do, but you have to find the thing that you love and then figure out a way to use it in service of others. And that's when it becomes a beautiful thing. So me going to Kona is kind of personal. It also inspires people, but writing the book was to help people and then to use the money from profit from the book to fund the foundation, give back to the community that I love so much. It just feels so right. I've never felt more fulfilled, more meaningful, purposeful life. And I know I'm inspiring others, and it's just been fantastic. I work with the American Cancer Society. We did a fundraising banquet the other night. They called it Cowboy Couture. I'm from New Jersey. They put me up in a $1,500 ostrich boots, big black hat. I could send you guys a picture. It's pretty funny. But we got to walk the runway. All the cancer survivors had to walk the runway. So just fun stuff like that has been great. We're having fun and raising money, and same thing with the triathlons. But it could be a 5K and you can walk it. You could do it with a friend, and you're supporting a local charity. You're getting a little health benefit, and sometimes you get a cupcake and a medal at the end, maybe even a cookie. I don't care who you are. Crossing the finish line feels great. They put that medal around your neck.
Anyway,
you get the T-shirt.
It doesn't have to be an Ironman.
Yeah.
I mean, for some, I think people think that they're like, oh well, I can't do that. But somebody's 5K, or 10K, maybe
it's always a local
to them,
charity too. So you're always helping somebody locally. It's a charity. You get a T-shirt, and you'll be surprised. I tell people this too. The people that you meet that you would not have met otherwise. And I love all my race people, but Iron people in particular, I have a great affection for, as we all know what we go through. And I think a lot of people have said after watching me talk, they're like, man, it's kind of hard to blow off that next workout when I'm perfectly healthy. And I tell people, when you don't feel like doing your workout or your training or whatever, just realize that that's a privilege to be able to do it. There may come a day you're not able to do it. So while you can, do it. I'll tell you this, I've never had a training session that I didn't want to do, that I did, that I regretted after it was done. Even if it was bad, at least I checked it off the list. I'll tell you what, TriDot and then Training Peaks and all that have been great, because that's accountability. Back in the day, if you had a coach, did you ride? Yeah. 40 miles. Well, now it's all on Garmin and Strava, and it's like, there's no hiding from the watch. There's no hiding from the data.
Yeah, that's true.
And for me, I don't know. I'm sure you guys are the same way, but I don't have that problem anymore. And for a long time, I haven't. I feel guilty if I miss a workout, and I try to figure out ways to make it up instead of just letting it go. So missing a workout is like, oh, you missed one.
Yeah, I feel like we both can feel you there for sure.
I think we're both like that. I love it that you just brought this up, because this was one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, what is it that you find that you do for yourself to when you just don't want to go out the door. You've got a workout that's on the schedule and you just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It sounds like that you don't really have that much of a problem with that now, because it's
if I
just
can't
gotten to
do
the
this,
point
I can't do
where you
Kona.
realize it's like, hey, I get to do this. This is a privilege that I have.
Yeah. Even the first 6 months of this year, I was no evidence of disease when I started my training program in December of 25. I'm training with Jill Bartholomew, Be Fierce Multisport. She's a great coach. And we started, it's funny because you have to talk to her. She's a great interview as well, a world champion as well. But I called her up. We had our initial consultation, and I told her what I was trying to do. And she's like, what? I have a million questions. She's in touch with my doctor, and they're trying to figure all this out, if it's a good idea or not. But I told her, I said, look, I got stage 4, but I'm no evidence of disease. I said, if we're lucky, I'll cruise through the year with no big deal. So we get into January, and I have an ostomy, which is just a little piece of your intestines. It's actually an ileostomy, small intestines hanging out. So you kind of poop into a bag or whatever. And first part of the year, it prolapsed, which means like 3 inches of it came plopping out of my stomach. Go to the hospital, and I figured it's a surgical solution. Turns out they just put a little table sugar on there, shrink it up, and shove it back in with their hands. And they told me I could do the same. So they did an abdominal scan while I was in the hospital and found that I had 3 golf ball sized tumors had redeveloped on my liver. So now I'm back in chemo for the first 3 months of the year, scorched earth, hardcore chemo that I'm training through. Really doing pretty well with the chemo and training through it. And then I got the infection on the port, which led to the blood clot, which led to the hospitalization, which led to the no evidence of disease, which led to the surgery that fixed the original problem on June 9th with the ostomy. So on June 10th, I was fixed, good to go, no evidence of disease, until I overdosed on the over-the-counter medication and set me back again. So, it's funny with cancer, the same things don't repeat themselves. It's something new every time that you could never have imagined. So that keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
Never know what's coming next.
because I'd listened to the other podcast with Karen.
Yeah.
I'd listened to another podcast you were on, and you were talking about the ileostomy.
Yeah.
And as a dietitian,
That might have been with the doctor.
I work with sports.
Yeah.
I work with sports, but I have a strong clinical background, and I'm just curious. From just we don't have to go into a lot of detail here, but I'm curious, like with your nutrition, like how is the fueling? I mean, are you having like some significant side effects from the chemo? Does it make it hard to eat enough because you know how important fueling is?
Yeah, I don't even know if you can see right now. I'm having some spasms as we speak in my lungs, in my esophagus from the chemo, from the steroids. Makes it hard to breathe and swallow. It interrupts those patterns. And the skin infection causes blisters and sores on your skin, but it's not just on the surface. My gums, my tongue, my cheeks are all swollen and blistered, so chewing and swallowing are very difficult. And there's only a handful of foods that I can eat. Fortunately, I like protein shakes. And so I can get my protein, my nutrients, throw a little creatine in there to keep the muscle up. A lot of people die from cancer from malnutrition. And the digestive system is the most difficult aspect of this. But I've managed to figure it out now where I can maintain my weight. I have a handful of foods I know I can eat, like a plain turkey sandwich or, when I've lost 8 pounds in the last 2 weeks just because of the skin infection and whatnot. But now I'm on the mend and I don't necessarily need to gain it all back. I'm 175 pounds. That would be fine for race day. So, now I'm just fingers crossed that I could get some good weather. I think I deserve that. If God is listening, I'd like no wind on that day.
Yeah. I was going to say, when you said you don't like wind and you don't like
lake,
flat,
I need a glassy ocean, a smooth swim, no mechanicals, good health. I need some divine intervention. I think I've earned it, but I think God has a sense of humor, so I wouldn't be surprised if the heavens opened up and they just make it as hard as humanly possible, But yeah,
hopefully
I'm determined. Like I said, I'm optimistic and I'm determined, and I'm okay no matter what happens, because I know that I've done the best that I can do. And when I get there, I'll do the best that I can do to be the best that I can be. And we'll see how it ends up. I'll have to accept the result regardless. But like I said, I've got some real optimism, and we'll see what happens. So it should be interesting. You got a lot of people following me, and we can certainly follow up after the race too. So you'll get my feedback one way or the other. But whatever your deal is, you don't need to have cancer, whatever your issue is, just keep trying. You'd be surprised what you can accomplish when you just focus on the troubles in the day in front of you and just keep it that simple. Because worrying about tomorrow just steals your joy from today. If you're worried about race day, you can't really focus on the training you need to do or whatever it is you need to do in your life. So the message is universal.
I think that's so true, because I'm thinking about my last marathon, which I've had a difficult time with. And it was when I started to start worrying about race day, like obsessing over it, thinking about it, not enjoying the training anymore, that, that's kind of where I finished the race and it was really hard, but it was a challenge and I kind of lost the joy from it. And now, trying to recover from that, it took me a long time to kind of get to a point where I'm like kind of, okay, I'm ready to do something again. Yeah. Start working towards something again. So I do think that's important. When you start to lose that joy or that you're just out there doing it because you have to get to the end, but you're not really there.
More often than not, you're not going to execute your plan. There's just too much that can go wrong, especially in an Ironman. I have never done an Ironman where something that, Texas, for instance, I just bought my Garmin 1040 and 10 miles into the bike ride, I looked down, the damn thing's missing. I stopped, turned around, going against traffic, everybody yelling at me. I'm looking at the ground for this computer, and I had to go 10 minutes back, finally found it, put it back on, but that'll never happen again. I'll never dehydrate again. I'll never overhydrate again. I'll never drop my Garmin again. So these things happen and you learn from it. But just like cancer, the next thing is unpredictable, unforeseeable, and it'll happen, but every now and again, you'll have that day where everything flows, everything goes, but that's a rare thing, Because more often than not, just like life, doesn't go as you plan, and you got to roll with the punches. So for me, being self-employed my whole life, I don't dwell on problems. I go immediately to solution, and I don't look for other people to solve it. Even if it's your problem, I'll solve it just so we can get through it. If I'm in your car and you get a flat, I'll change it. Don't worry about it. You just sit there.
Yeah, I think endurance athletes tend to put so much emphasis on race day, and that like if they don't have a good race, then somehow the work that they put in was a waste of time, or they somehow feel invalidated. But I don't think that they really kind of understand that a good race day is actually few and far between. There's just things that you just cannot control.
Right.
And I've always said that, Ironman and triathlon, it's a master's degree in crisis management.
Yeah.
And you're just out there just putting out little fires here and there as they come up. And, race day is what it is.
So I would say the best analogy is, Tom Brady has 7 Super Bowls? That's unusual. You can't expect that. Now, you take a guy like Dan Marino, 20 years in the NFL, Hall of Fame career, no Super Bowls. Does that diminish his accomplishment? I'm sure he would like to have a ring, but it does not diminish the accomplishment. He's still one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And that's something great to remind your athletes is it's not necessarily all in that winning or that thing. You can still get all the benefits. You can still have a Hall of Fame career and no Super Bowl, if that's the way it plays out for you. But as long as you know you did your best to be your best and you left everything on the table, then that's the best you could do. What more could you ask of yourself? So I always look at that Dan Marino had that long, beautiful career, a great quarterback, just wasn't able ever to put all the pieces together. And it's not a result of not working hard, or the team not trying. It just never came together for him in the way that we're talking about in his time. And I hope not to be the Dan Marino of the Ironman triathlons, but if that's what it ends up being, it's still the image of who I am. It's still my lifestyle, and I still get all the benefits from it. So. But I still believe I'll get that finish line, and it'll be a glorious moment. My wife, my son will be there. All my new friends on the IRONMAN Foundation team, Audra and all the great people at the IRONMAN Foundation. It's going to be pretty epic. I've never been to Hawaii, but to me, as you know, that's like, that's Mecca. I mean, that's heaven on earth. So I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to make the best of it. And hopefully I can finish it in a way that will be movie worthy, because that'll probably be my next step, is make a movie. Let's turn it into a movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the Rocky of Ironman. There's not enough Ironman movies out there. I look on Netflix, I look on Prime. These stories are great. You could tell them over and over again. I mean, you see it in the Ironman channel on YouTube where they do some of the stories on the pros. But I'm with you, Justin. I think the stories of the average people, and I've said this before, I believe you could go through every paddock, 2,500 bikes, pull any number, go talk to that person and have something interesting to talk about their struggle and what their challenges were and how they overcame and who inspired them and what it means to them and why they do it. We all have our whys, and everybody's got a story to tell. And I think more often than not, most of those stories would be a pretty good listen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I was just going to say that one question that I do have for you is I've always said that Ironman and triathlon is we don't go to race day alone.
Yeah.
We don't train for Ironman in isolation. The people that are around us, the people that love us the most, they train with us. Yeah. They may not be swimming, biking, and running, but there's stuff that they're sacrificing, things that they do to support you because they love you. Then, race day, I've spectated several races, and I think it was more challenging and more exhausting to spectate than it was to actually race.
Yeah. I don't like spectating.
So can you tell me a little bit about how this journey that you've gone through the cancer and the treatment and the training, what has this been like for the people that are closest to you?
I think it's been a relief to them to see me get back to living not only the way that I used to live, but in a better way. Speaking with my father this morning, and he said to me, he's very proud of me. And in the book, I even mentioned the greatest accomplishment in my life is winning my father's respect, which I always had. But recently, watching me go through this process, he said he's never been more proud of me and respects me as an equal. And, just the greatest compliment, the greatest reward thing ever in my life, So, it's an individual sport. Nobody does it alone. If you go around my house, I've got a bicycle in every room, training bikes, kickers, race bikes, mountain bikes, you name it, running gear. It's our lifestyle. So my family jumped in with me. We do racecations. We don't take vacations. I don't sit on the beach. My wife sits on the beach. I go ride bikes and run and do all that other stuff for many, many hours. So I have a little entourage that follows me now. My son, who's 21, been racing with me since he's 16, but he's more of a power lifter. So he does the little races, and it's just as much fun to race with him and cross the finish line with him. And he does it for fun with me. We turned Atlanta Half Marathon into a tradition. We do that every year in the first of the year, and that's always kind of fun. That's a big race. It's a fun race. So the family is all in. And I've said this before, just like the interesting stories in the paddock, but I don't think you can have a long distance endurance athlete in your house and not have everyone in the house benefit from their presence. Just in the discipline, just in the lifestyle, just in the diet, the nutrition, it can't help but rub off on others. All of it, it just does. I know it's rubbed off on my son. So.
It's interesting the way to think of it, because sometimes I'm like doing my running and maybe not spending that time with my family, but there are probably positive things like you mentioned,
an example,
nutrition, my son is 7.
Yeah,
he's almost 7 years old. So
kids watch more what you do than what you say. Your actions mean more than your words, especially when they're teenagers. Sometimes you feel like you're talking to a wall. They'll follow your. When I was a kid, I had aunts and uncles smoking cigarettes and drinking whiskey, telling me not to smoke cigarettes and drink whiskey. That doesn't work, So if you lead by example, and I think it's a good example that we set, they're watching that and they're proud of that. I know so I'm in better shape than some of my friends, my son's friends. And they all think I'm some kind of Marvel hero, like a cancer killer thing. They just, they think I'm indestructible. So that's the way my son sees it too. He's not worried about me dying. He's like, I don't think cancer has a chance.
Right. You're like a Marvel hero. Yeah, you kind of are. Could be one of the Marvel characters at this
we'll
point.
We'll see. I wrote the book. Now I got to finish the race. If I don't finish the race, there's no movie, Right? You got to have that moment in the end where hey, yo, Adrian. So, but even Rocky, think about Rocky. He didn't win that first fight.
Right.
That's true.
He lost that fight, but it still felt like a victory, didn't it? So I'm going to win no matter what.
Right.
I'm coming out as a winner.
I wish I could be there
no
to watch
what.
you now. I wish I could go to Kona.
You can do the live follow me. I'm going to put my number up. So, and I've got an artist friend who's going to be a pretty famous artist friend he does live paintings at giant sporting events. Like he was Dale Earnhardt's personal artist. He did Muhammad Ali, the Atlanta Braves. He's going to be painting a picture of me live on Facebook, crossing a finish line during the race that we're then going to auction off for charity. So that should be pretty interesting as well. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. He's a talented guy. He just called me about that today. So just thinking outside of the box, different ways to raise money. You can only ask friends and family for so much. And then beyond that, you got to figure out something. And, I thought if I could offer something of value, as well as, if you give a donation, then you get the book. So the book is like a donation, even though Amazon takes half. I think the paperback is $15. So I think I get $7 a book. So trying to raise $100,000, $7 at a time. But I've had a lot of friends and family be very generous and some corporate donations and matches. And my goal is 100,000. I'm up to 40, and I think I can close that gap. I really do.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can help a little bit.
I do want to make sure that we tell others, how they can get, how they can contribute, where they can find your book.
Two things. One, you can go to my Instagram page, which is stage 42025, the number 4 2025, STAGE 42025. And there, in my bio, there's a link directly to the donor page. But beyond that, if you're an Ironman and you're racing an Ironman, whether it's 70.3 or the full, you always have that option to click on the foundation option and race for more is what we call it. Even if you just do one race, a 70.3, I think you have to raise like $4,000. Right off the bat, you get admission into the race, you get a really cool kit, and then, you start your fundraising, and it's fun. And the people you meet and the team that you're involved with, it's great to give back to the community that does so much for us. And I found it really rewarding, and they're always happy to have more people on the team. All the money we raise goes into the communities we race in. And if you don't know what they do with it, for instance, in Detroit, I was speaking with Shelley at the IRONMAN Foundation. She lives in Detroit. 60% of the kids in the city don't know how to swim. So one of the things the foundation does is they'll go into those communities, teach the kids how to swim, teach them how to bike. Sometimes they'll give them bikes, teach them how to maintain the bikes. They were just over in Africa giving kids bikes. So instead of walking all over the place, they get to ride. They taught them how to change tires and set goals and prove, the Ironman motto that anything's possible. But, what do you actually do when you teach a kid to swim? Well, you teach them to swim. But beyond that, you teach them that what looked like an insurmountable obstacle is surmountable if you get some help and you're willing to just keep trying and do the work, that you can overcome these things. And it opens up their mind to the idea that anything's possible. Fast forward, how does that impact and manifest later in life? When you come across another tremendous challenge, instead of shying away, backing off, you're going to lean in. And that to me is the gift that keeps giving. And that's why I'm really proud to be part of the team. One, you can donate and help me, but two, you could also be part of the team, without much effort.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting.
You don't have to raise $100,000. This is the championship. But if you do a local race, the numbers get a little more reasonable. So with the team kit, the team kits are really cool, and you can only get them one way. So that's worth easily $300 right there. And then, the admission kind of makes up for some of it. And then most people can raise $4,000 through friends and family. That's not that hard.
Yeah, that's true.
So I encourage people to, if you haven't thought about it, pick one race and just do it for one,
Do you have a website that people can go to as like a central location for donations?
Don't have a website. Ironman has the website. It's the IRONMAN Foundation. You can go directly to the foundation page and find my name, Jim Logan, and just put it in there. But I have the link in my Instagram, and I also connected it to you guys through email. I'll make sure you still have that as well. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just easier to click through. That way you get the tax donation, you get the tax, it's tax deductible. The foundation's been around for over 2 decades. They've already distributed well over $60 million. 501c3K, very highly rated. The money's going to a good cause. And as far as I can tell, they're doing things that no other charity is really doing. So they're filling that void, which is, what the kind of stuff we care about. So it's just really a great organization and just full of great people. And that's been a real tremendous joy as well, getting to work with all the Ironman people. And for me, it's as rewarding as training for the race, as fundraising for the race as well. It's added an element to the race that's really cool and unexpected.
Yeah, I think that's actually, because you're actually doing it for a cause, not just for yourself.
Right.
It's not, I think sometimes inherently kind of these endurance
they call it racing for more.
Can seem selfish.
Yeah, that's the saying. Racing for more.
For some people, for many people out there, maybe that is, what would motivate them to get out there. I think
charity is always best when it's close to your heart. So, my dad was a UPS executive. He's big into education, and he really has a heart for single moms who struggle. And so he built a building, first of all, at a community college, a mathematics building. And then he set up a fund for single moms who maybe reach that point where they want to keep going to school, but money is tough. So he'll buy them books or help them with their apartment so that they can finish their degree and not fall off track just because of a couple $100 for a few books. But if you do the charity close to home where you can actually see the result, it just feels better. So it's natural for me to want to do charitable work in the community that I already love. And that's what you would do, whatever your community is, you know what I mean? So if you could tie it all together, do the thing you love and tie it to a charity, a service, a higher cause, then it's just that much more rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that.
Wow.
Well, and then people should buy your book too. So
buy the book is a great way. 2 things with the book. One, I really think whether you have cancer or not, regardless of your situation, most people will read the book. It's not long. It's not difficult to read. And most of the reviews that I get are that people pick it up and read it cover to cover, or in 2 sittings. It just kind of draws you in. It's an easy read and it's done before you know it. So I wanted to make it meaningful but simple. I wanted it to appeal to as many people as possible without getting lost in triathlon stuff or cancer stuff or even faith stuff. So it's a little bit of everything. And that's why I think people are able to find it easy to read, and everyone's able to pull something out of it. So not only are you making a nice little donation to charity, you're also hopefully getting something in return yourself. So that was the plan. And like I said, it's been very, very rewarding. It took me 13 months to write the book, and all I wanted was a good product. I didn't care how long it took, and I was nervous about it because I'd never written a book before, and it came out really good, and I'm really proud of it, and the reviews are fantastic. So it's been a tremendous reward.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. I think you told your story really well, and hopefully we were able to ask questions and dive in a little bit deeper. And I don't know, do you have any other questions, Justin, or anything you want to add?
I don't.
Again,
I'm just,
I don't want
I'm
to
just
take up
kind
too
of
much of your
floored.
time.
No, I think that about covers it. It seems to me I've done this enough times now. It's about 45 minutes an hour. After that, we're just covering the same subjects.
Yeah.
But just enough to keep people interested, motivated, inspired. And, if something we do, if something we say, if something we print, it can be helpful to somebody else, even if it's one person, that's okay. We'll do it one at a time. And I think we've done that for sure. You guys ask great questions, and, we're all simpatico in this one area of long distance endurance sports and the beauty and the wonder that come from the joy and the pain. Which is an odd thing, I talk about it in the book, my signature philosophy: discipline, sacrifice, suffering, and pain, DSSP. If you apply these very simple principles, the 4 pillars of my life's philosophy, if you don't have discipline, forget about it, go back on the couch, nothing else is going to work. But you can either suffer the pain of discipline or suffer the regret. You're going to have pain either way. So if you have discipline, means you can execute a plan. If you have a good plan and you're willing to make sacrifices and you don't mind enduring a little suffering and pain, you'd be surprised what you can accomplish. And that's been the case for me. I'm living proof that regardless of your circumstances, you can turn tragedy into triumph. These things don't happen to you, they happen for you. Your job to figure it out. But once you say the prayers and once you set the goals, you got to do the work. You got to do the work. I love the saying that, God makes sure all the birds get worms, but he doesn't drop them in their nest. I can't pray for a cure for cancer, go sit on the couch and wait for it to be delivered like Amazon. You got to go out in the world and seek it. And the people that I'm meeting, like yourselves, I get as much out of this as I'm sure you do, and hopefully others that are listening the same. So I'm getting back more than I'm giving. So I appreciate you guys, and I thank you so much for your time and sharing my story and helping me do some good here, because you guys are doing some good as well.
Yeah, I just want to tell you, by the end of this conversation that we've just had, I've been kind of struggling over the past 6 months or so with trying to get back into racing at the level that I wanted to do. And I've just been afraid to hit that registration button, and I've just been sitting there. It's like, oh, what if I can't perform? What if I can't do this? And I can honestly say that this conversation has led me to the conclusion. It's like, well, what do I have to be afraid of?
Yeah.
If this guy can endure what he's had to endure and he still has the outlook that he has, what do I care if I'm first or last?
That's the point.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's the man you become along the way.
Thank you for that. I really do appreciate it.
Just got the tingly bumps. See, you made my day. You just buoyed my spirit. I'm telling you right now, when I do these things, symptoms go away. I've never felt better. And I mean, looking at me, you would never know that I had cancer. I said, I'm going to have to bring a doctor's note or something to Kona. People are going to be like, he doesn't have cancer. No way. Trust me, I have cancer.
Think about it; it's internal, so it's hard to.
I look better than I feel. But these events, this podcast has been a tremendous joy for me as well, and you've buoyed my spirit. I'm even more encouraged now than I was before. So, what a great pleasure to meet you guys both.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to Amazon and I'm going to search for your book, and I'm ordering copies for my entire athlete roster.
Yeah.
And so my athletes will be receiving a free copy of your book, because I think it is worth it. Also, I'm feeling led that from Tabula Rasa Racing, I will be going out to your page or the Ironman Foundation, and Tabula Rasa Racing will make a $300 donation towards your fundraising.
Thank you, sir.
I have a really small athlete roster, but I feel like this is really important.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to commit to that. So I want to thank you so much for being on this episode. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah,
Man, you. I'm just you guys really, I can't tell you how heartfelt my thank you is, and that really means so much to me. And like I said, I love this community that we're in, and just full of such good people. And you two are certainly in that class, and I'm honored to be a colleague. I really am.
Great. So everybody who's been listening, I want to thank you guys for joining us today on the Endurance Athlete Journey podcast. This has been episode 115, where we've talked with James Logan, Ironman. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like Marvel superhero. Let's just leave it at that.
I'll take that. Yeah,
Cancer survivor, Ironman athlete, superhero.
Yeah. I cannot wait for this episode to get pushed out and made public. I want to see just the outpouring that I know it's going to get. So thank you guys for joining us today in this episode of the Endurance Athlete Journey podcast. I'm not even going through the housekeeping stuff. I'm Coach Justin, along with Coach Katie and along with James Logan. I want to thank you guys for the support, and thank you for joining us. And we'll talk to you all again next time. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye.
That wraps up today's episode of the Endurance Athlete Journey podcast. Endurance sports have a way of teaching us patience, humility, and resilience, lessons that carry far beyond the workout. Progress in endurance sports doesn't come from shortcuts. It comes from consistency, discipline, and doing the work when it's not glamorous. Wherever you are on your endurance journey, keep trusting the process and honoring the work you put in each day. If today's episode resonated, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone to help on their endurance journey. Don't forget to join the conversation on our social sites to help build and foster a community where we all learn and support one another. We'll be back with more stories and insights from Coach Justin and Katie. Until then, visit the podcast website at theenduranceathletejourney.buzzsprout.com for more episodes from the Endurance Athlete Journey podcast. Have questions or comments about the podcast? Feel free to send us an email at theenduranceathletejourney@gmail.com. For all things coaching, visit Coach Katie at fuel2run.com and Coach Justin at tabularasaracing.com. Again, thank you for listening to the Endurance Athlete Journey podcast, and remember to find joy in the journey.